I'm sure you've had a relationship with Marlon Brando's work prior to this, but how do you feel that doing this film, getting more into how he thinks, behaves, takes in life, has challenged your creative mind and given you a new philosophy, personal philosophy to adopt, if any?
It's a very interesting question. It reinforced an approach that I had chosen without knowing his, and it was yet another on-ramp and piece of connective tissue that I found with him that was either something like kismet or an unexpected caveat. His love of science and curiosity I share.
Hmm.
um, the understanding of what may be the end game for many, an Oscar, making money at the gig, fame for fame's sake never was an objective for me. You always overshoot it into the why. I attribute any success I've had to the concept of service, honestly. It was an organizing principle I kind of locked into when I was 18. Who deserves forum? Who deserves this crazy job, a bullhorn to the world? What's the best use of it? And it's not just cash money or a good table at the polo lounge or just, it's or whatever. Or an award. It's something bigger because you have such possible sway. And I genuinely believe, 40 almost 40 years into it, I've averted disaster to date, knock wood, and attracted some, experiences with some really beautiful people who share the mission. And it was just something that I connected with him, and I guess I assumed it when I learned about his when he the work he did for civil rights and indigenous rights. That was kind of everyone was fairly familiar with that. I didn't know how impactful he was and the why, the why beneath those things,
Hmm.
like how, no good deed goes unstoned, right? Unpunished. And the general assumption was he was a bit of an egoist. It was a grandstand move. But when you start to realize, he diffused a firefight at Wounded Knee because of that position, that,
Hmm.
I didn't know he gave 10% of his earnings to King's Foundation after his death and inspired Johnny Carson to do the same on air for a 1%. I did no idea. I never saw that interview. And suddenly you go, my God, this dude like walked the walk, like literally. There were no Hollywood activists. You know, he just set the bar, and he didn't do it for any other purpose other than he couldn't imagine not doing it. His level of equanimity, his understanding was unchallenged at that time, and he didn't even give a shit if it was. Pardon me. He was he was just he was uh, this was just what impressed me, and I tried to connect with. I wanted to honor that and reclaim the legacy from the assumptions and the trauma that befell him later in life, and really
Hmm.
focus on what we found to be his happy place, this very interesting, joyful period in Tahiti,
Hmm.
and how it supported some of his most seminal and memorable work. As much as presumed challenge as that may have been, the challenge was not kind of crumbling under the insurmountable task of playing the best actor of our generation, or you know telling the story of him as this model citizen of sorts, global citizen. It was to just tap into his love of humanity, his love of the Tahitian people, his curiosity, his sense of humor, like these currents we don't associate to him, that
Hmm.
made it really um, organic to play him.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
roundabout answer, but that's kind of like the weird myriad of the experience it was to play him, to be honest. It was ever shifting and curious.
Yeah. Excuse the kind of silly analogy here, but the wings of your voice work talent is stretched all across your career from The Collector and Demon Knight, Cal and Titanic, but here Brando's voice is It's so recognizable. But what's great about your approach is that it feels like you're taking ownership of it and bringing a natural flow to it in a way that makes it feel completely immersive. So what goes
Thank you.
into capturing that recognizable rhythm of Brando, but also leaving room for you to run wild and be unpredictable as he is, like doing monkey noises or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that was a improvisation that just came at the time. I figured he
Yeah.
was, and I surprised everyone on set with that.
Hmm.
The scene needed a button, and I felt he was, he would have felt he was a monkey in the cage, and I felt like it. And I thought, what would he have done just then to scatter the crowd? Just okay, you want a monkey? I'm a monkey. He just like pulled an orangutan and got cut through the crowd and got to the table he wanted to hit. Although he probably didn't expect to sit at that table. I think he probably sat down at a table
Right.
like she wasn't expecting it, and uh, it was probably dude was in the bathroom when he took his
Yeah.
chair. I
Yeah.
look, a lot of people do better Brando impressions. I'm not one of them. My register is a lot lower. I have a much more bass oriented voice. I didn't get hung up on it, on
Hmm.
the sound. It arrived after the rhythm and the cadence and the it was more about his movement and pacing that was that I felt was important to really tap. And then the rest came on and I was able to modulate, but I didn't want to obsess over the sound as much as the rhythms and the behavior. And
Excellent.
I'm happy with it. I think we kind of got in the zone. It is a very particular uh, sound and pattern, right? It's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
unlike anybody. And it was fun to play. And once I got into that place, I didn't stay in it either, which was bizarro. I realized I enjoyed being as off base as possible and producing it. I'm hauling, you know, crates and lenses and, we're all pulling weight on the show and I'm talking as me. And then just right up to the point of stepping in front of camera, did it turn on? I didn't need to stay in him. Like I guess many people assume, or just need to. I didn't need to hide my trailer or be called Marlin or what. I
Yeah.
was. It was being completely detached from even the gig until the last moment from the role that allowed for surprise and authenticity for me. That was just how I worked. It was completely counterintuitive. I,
Yeah.
I said, "How would Marlon play this role?" And the answer was to not really give a damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides Brando, is there another creative living or no longer with us that you would leap at to figuratively waltz with them like Judge with Brando in this film to get to know them more deeply, or maybe you've had such an opportunity?
Another great question. You know, Gene Kelly, I think,
Mm,
as a performer, as a director, as a choreographer, he defined like triple threat to me in terms of entertainment. He was, I think the way Chaplin was to him, and Chaplin for that matter, those two artists were so attuned and complete storytellers,
yeah.
and just their instincts and their ability to work with their environment and defy gravity, figuratively and literally. I think the most evasive and beautiful thing, which is an expanded state and functional media, entertainment as a public service that just lifts the human condition, that makes you feel really good and marvel at what someone can do with their body and their voice and you know it just celebrates the best of us, and those guys made me want to be an actor, and I think Marlon had great respect for them too. So yeah, I'd say Chaplin and Kelly probably.
Yeah.
I can tell you're a great cinephile and you know your craft too. So anytime, man.